Alright, so this is how I do my fork seals. There's probably people that disagree with the way I do things, and that's fine. You're more than welcome to do it your own way, but I'm just showing you the way that I like to do it. So we're starting with the forks already off the bike. I'm going to start by, first already I've removed this snap ring from the groove right here. And I'm going to start by fully removing the preload adjuster. And I will come back to you once that's removed. Alright, so now I have the preload adjuster removed. And I drained some of the oil through that hole with the preload adjuster removed. You can see I took the adjuster off. And this little thing, which is what puts the pressure on the spring. And the reason for doing that is most people leave this top part intact, but then you have to remove the rebound adjuster in order to take the fork apart, and then you have to reset this all. So I do it this way. It just makes a step, removes a step for me and makes life a little bit easier. Now, a lot of people probably will say this isn't a good idea, but it's how I do it, and it works. And then this is another step where people will tell you need a special tool, the spring adjuster, or a compressor, but you really don't. These springs are not that difficult. You can just force this down and put your 17mm wrench on there. And now again, using the impact, just take this cap off. And this spring, this is notched and grooved. This is going to hold the spring on there for right now. Now you just compress this by hand again and remove your wrench, your 17mm wrench. And now this all comes apart. No spring compressor required, no special tools. And that's it for this part. Alright, I'm back. It's now like 3 days later. I've got a really cold sun right now, so finding spare time can be a bit of a challenge. Right now I'm going to cover removing the old fork seals and putting the new fork seals in. So just got a flat screwdriver. I'm going to go around and work this dust boot out like so. And then I've got a little hook to fish out the retaining clip. And that comes off, and now you're just going to use the fork like a hammer and work the bearing and fork seal out. And there we go. Now you want to pay attention to which order things go, but you've got the dust seal, you've got the oil seal, a washer and a bushing, and then you've got your bushing up top here. And you have to remove this bushing to remove everything else. If you look closely, there's a little seam. You just need to get your fingernail in there and open it up a little bit and bring it over the top of the tube. That's the bushing right there. You can see the split, and it sits in this groove, so you just open it up and take your bushing off. And now your other bushing comes off, the washer, and then your old oil seal, and dust boot. And then you want to use like a clean piece of paper towel wipe this down good, because you don't want to, when you put the new seal on and stuff, you don't want to have any like dirt trapped in there when you put it back together. And you take your new, first your dust seal goes on, you just kind of put it on one side and work it over and on, and then same when you get to this groove, you want to be kind of careful because you don't want to cut the seal edge or anything. I'm using the All Balls seal kit, and this has a double seal on the inside, so you just want to make sure that you put your seal on in the right direction. It has a definite in and out. Just like that. And then your washer goes on. And then the larger bushing goes on. And then the smaller bushing goes on. And it snaps into place. And then it's ready to go back into the fork tube. Just like so. Now some people will drive the bushing and in with the oil seal, but I prefer to not do that. I like to just work that bushing into the outer tube a little ways, and it doesn't take a lot of pressure to get it into place. And once you've got that in place, you're ready to start driving your seals into place. What I use for a driver is this. It's a piece of 1 1/4 inch PVC T, and it was a circle, and I've cut a good chunk out, as you can see. One side has a square edge. I'll use this side for driving in the seal. And then on the other side, you can see maybe that I've tapered the inside edge here. So when I go to, I'll use this side for the dust boot, and the reason why I taper it like that is it'll take some of the pressure. I don't know if you can see that real well, but the taper takes some of the pressure off of the lip of the dust seal. So, got my fork tube. This just snaps on like so after you put the seal down. Move the seal down into place. This snaps on, and I just lined this up with the boss for mounting the front fender. And then you just use it like a hammer. You want to kind of rotate it and get your fork seal driven in evenly. You don't want to warp the seal as you do it. And this one's being a little more difficult than the other one, but you'll see how this works. Once you get the fork seal started, the friction will hold it in place. I'm not getting, it's going to move out of view probably because I'm balancing it on my leg and it's just not getting enough pressure to drive the seal in. So I got to put it on the floor so I have a harder surface to hammer against. There we go. And now that seal's in place, but basically what I do once you get it started, this lines up with this, and sometimes it pops off because this is rounded, but basically you just want to rotate this tube as you hammer to make sure you get that seal driven in evenly. And now the clip goes in, just like so. There we go, and this comes off. Flip it around, so I'm using the tapered edge on the oil, or the dust boot seal. And just again, just kind of go around and drive it in nice and evenly. And now the seal and dust boot's in place. Alright, I'm back. Now the last part is reassembly. I already have my fork oil in here. I set the height. It's pretty easy to do. There's cheap tools, there's expensive tools, there's homemade tools, but I didn't really feel the need to cover that. I just wanted to show that you can disassemble and reassemble the forks without any special expensive tools mainly. So now that I've got my fork oil height set, we're going to put the fork back together. Spring goes in first. You want to pull up the damper rod like this. And this is kind of going to be the tricky part. But the spacer goes in, hanging onto the damper rod, and this washer on top. And now you want your 17mm wrench, and you just need to compress the spring and spacer like so, far enough to get your 17mm wrench on there. It's a little tricky because the damper rod wants to settle as you go, but there you go. Your fork cap goes on. Like so. Now I know I used the compression or the impact to take this apart, but under no circumstances do you want to use your impact to reassemble it. This is aluminum, this is brass, the threads are going to damage real easy. Always hand assemble only. It doesn't need to be super tight, just tight enough that you know it's not going to come apart inside the fork. And then this washer goes, no, the other way. This part goes in next. And there's 3 holes in there, and you just line those pins up with the 3 holes. And then this metal washer, and then the preload adjuster goes on. Make sure that all this stuff is good and clean, because you don't want any dirt getting into your forks. Then you just bring your outer tube up and thread this on. And again, no impact because all aluminum. And this itself doesn't need to be particularly tight because the friction from the O-ring is going to seal it and hold it in place. So really no tighter than hand tight on there. You can snug it up a little bit once you get it into triple clamps if you want. And then continue putting on your preload adjuster. Once you get it down low enough, you can put this little snap ring back in place that holds it in. Sorry, a lot of this is out of camera, but I'm filming this by myself. And that's it. You have a rebuilt fork.